So we have no apologies, I believe. I believe we're all here. Thank you.
The one from Professor Tommy?
No, she's here.
She's here.
She's here.
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, yes, that's all right. So no apologies. I've
Gotcha.
Right,
Thank you. Sorry
Right,
about that.
that's good. Right, okay. And I'm welcome to his first council meeting. We've already had the meeting. Thank you. So now I just want to make sure that anybody, if anybody has any disclosures to make of any interests of anything that's going to be discussed in the papers today. Okay.
The election.
Right. Yep, that's right. Okay, we'll note that far. Thank you. And I'll move that those disclosures be noted. I'll get Gemma to second that. Thank you very much, Gemma. All right, then we're in the council minutes. We have the minutes of part A there. We're actually in part A, which is the part open to the public. We have the minutes of part A. Are there any comments around the minutes of part A? Yes.
I do have a comment. I
Yes.
think there's a little bit of wishful thinking in the minutes,
Right.
in that I think we could have used section 18 of the council appointment process procedure not to seek expressions of interest when we reappointed the current alumni member, but I don't think we did.
So where are you in the minutes?
I'm at
Page 6. That's page 6 and 12. It's 14 on.
We can look at the page.
Yeah. 14 on
bottom of
page.
page 6.
Page 14 on diligent.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is we could have and should have, but I don't remember that we did.
Ah, yeah, okay.
So that's just something, just as a, perhaps we put that as a matter of life, and so I'm with Wendy's support looking into that, and we'll complete that when Wendy is back in leave, and so be in January, probably earlier, but thank you for raising it.
Right, so we should add that as a matter of rising. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Julia. Yep, okay. Then I will, with that amendment, I will move that the minutes be taken as read and confirmed, and I will ask the Vice Chancellor just to go on second those. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move to the November, the e-meeting that was done by email. Are there any questions around those minutes? Right, I will move that they be taken as read and confirmed. And Julia, perhaps I could ask you to second those. Thank you. Okay, we have the matters of, we have no matters arising, we have the matters arising that we will have added there. Okay, we are now at the confirmed of degrees. So by the authority vested in me by the University of Auckland, I, Cecilia Tarrant, Chancellor, hereby vest the degrees that are listed on for the confirmed of degrees in the papers. Take those as conferred. So then we're going to the Vice Chancellor's report.
Your Chancellor, thank you. So I'll take the report as read, as usual. I will just provide an update, and I won't rehearse everything that we've been talking around the two external reviews, the Science System Advisory Group review and the new AG review, except to say that, of course, now we know that some elements of the Science System Advisory Group paper have been through Cabinet, and we're aware that some of those conversations have been taken with our research leads, and particularly implications are now being announced for things like the Marsden, which impacts the research grant funding for art, social sciences and humanities. That is the only openly contested fund available in New Zealand, and so there are concerns about what that's going to mean specifically for our really highly ranked disciplines in those spaces, And we're now thinking about what we do in order to make sure that we continue to support those disciplines beyond the work that we've already done through the bringing together our arts and creative industries and education in one faculty, which has helped at least to bring the scale and concentration together and to provide the support in the background for this work to go forward. Given that the Minister has also indicated that future funding will be directed to incentivise graduates from hard sciences and STEM with benefits to the New Zealand economy, particularly around high tech and sciences. And whilst the decisions around the discipline mix and how that mix will be funded in the future are still to be understood, there is talk in the meeting last week, Vice Chancellors with the Minister around fee differentials and particularly driving existing funding, no extra funding, driving existing funding towards STEM disciplines, which of course will mean that we need to think carefully about anything that sits outside of that in the university as a comprehensive university and one which understands the value of our comprehensiveness to growing societal issues around tech, AI and such demands. So quite a lot of work to do around that. On the UAG work, the UAG is actually coming into the university this week. They'll be meeting with the Chancellor and myself on Thursday. I've already met with a number of people to talk through the funding mechanisms and are meeting with subcommittee chairs. But that work has slowed down a little bit. It was due to report in February, and when we met with Peter Gluckman last week, it looks like it's not going to report at least before March, probably later. And the Minister has to make some decisions before then. So once she's got the cabinet paper off the table for Tupenga and free speech legislation at the end of the year, she'll be moving to prioritise PBRF funding, which we're keen to make sure we understand. We are very aware that 4% funding that we were given for 2 years, 23 and 24, was not something we could bank on at the end of 2025, and we've had confirmation that we need to, in fact, not factor that in beyond 2025. So some quite stark challenges for us ahead of the 2 reviews really coming to fruition. Still waiting to understand what some of the detail of that really means. I would like to just also acknowledge the fact that it's been such a big year for the university. You've been hearing some of that in briefings. Highly successful year in many ways, and that's difficult to actually portray those messages internally, externally, when we're dealing with some quite challenging media and cutting through with the evidence of how we've maintained and sustained and in fact improved our rankings over the last year as a world-class university in research and in teaching and learning, and to cut through some of the misinformation and the disinformation that's out there around this, and of course our comms and marketing strategy is working hard with this. But the excellence in teaching and research has been really highly recognised. And can I commend all of our academic colleagues and all of our professional staff, in fact, the whole community, on helping us to achieve these significant outcomes again, year on year. We took early action. We continue to take early action. That is not without effort on everybody's part. And it means that we have to take some tough decisions, and we're adding before we're yet able to remove some of those things that we need to transit out of. And so it's tough times. And that's for me an opportunity here around the council table to thank everybody in the community for helping us get to this point again. A couple of other things I think just to note are hugely successful launch of the rec centre, 1,000 people through in the first hour. And I'm seeing people march up and down Simon Street on their way to and from the rec centre, and sometimes they're not going actually to use the gym. They're just going to be in there in that environment to use the other facilities, and it's a really fantastic environment for people, and particularly our students, to be in. And we've seen a number of changes across the campus this year that have really enhanced the student experience, including in our library and learning services, but across a range of those different, including Beta or one, of course, which is now so densely populated that we need to rebuild it. Better not say that too loud. And you know, exciting times there. AI, I just want to comment on this. I've mentioned a few times at this council table that we really need to get our heads around how it's going to change the whole sector, not just elements of the sector. And I've just come from the World AI Summit, which took place in Hong Kong, but it brought together leaders from across 55 countries to really focus on a consensus agreement around how we're going to work together on AI collaboratively as a suite of universities to ensure that our students, our researchers and our communities get the best outcomes from the education that they receive and are part of and contribute to in our institutions. And they're all top 100 universities, all at varying degrees doing different things, but some very exciting opportunities for us to think about our futures here with optimism. I'll leave it there, and I'm happy to take comments or questions. Most of what's in the report will be familiar to you, but of course the whole team are here if you've got questions related to any of those portfolios.
Questions? Obviously, we've had a pretty good discussion around the strategic priorities and that sort of thing in the briefings, but are there any questions specifically for Dawn on her report?
I'm just curious if possible around, I guess I noted one of the e-research strategies, 5 categories, and the how they will be operationalized by next year. I'm wondering, are we framing that strategy with a dedicated team, or
Yeah.
is that okay?
So Frank's reshaped his portfolio.
Okay.
So we saw that Frank's done that.
Yeah.
He's created 3 portfolios. One of those portfolios is responsible for the e-research strategy.
Okay,
So
great.
the whole
So we're not
team-
asking existing to do more.
It's
This is
it's a
gonna be
whole
a-
team of people
great,
working
okay.
on the e-research strategy.
No, thanks for that. Just one other comment with respect to AI. I wrote a guest article, I was asked to write a guest article for the Institute of Directors publication coming out this summer on how governors can look at AI questions coming through. And one of the areas that I noted that we're really deficient in New Zealand are training courses for executives and professionals. So I decided in the article to come to the University of Auckland because we have a couple here. Is there perspective, or is there a plan, I think, for enterprises, particularly in New Zealand, where we could offer, 1, 2, 3, 4 courses for executives to actually go through? Because no one's offering them really here.
This sits in the working professional space, and in the working professional space, along with Auckland Online,
Yeah,
that's one of the things that's already being looked at. So it's all very well bringing our undergraduates in, and
exactly.
but
Yeah.
the working professionals, Auckland Online actually speaks to that working professional market.
Okay, because I know Berkeley's got a fantastic online program. Internationally, we're just being outrun. But I just feel that here we could really lead in that space potentially. Thank you.
Can I just take the opportunity to thank council for their contributions and their work to support the executive this year then at the end of my report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn, and I think we should thank you for all the work that you've put in this year and the rest of your executive and senior leadership team.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. It's been a hard run, and I know you're still running to the finish, but
Oh, there's a finish, no need to.
the finish of the year. Finish of the year.
It involves
I know, that's a finish, yeah. Finish of the year. All right, thank you very much. Look, I'm going to move that the Vice Chancellor's report be noted, and Candace, ask you to second that.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now moving to the Finance Committee. Obviously, this is the minutes of Part A of the Finance Committee. And are there any questions around the minutes of Part A of the Finance Committee?
One admin, we have a big budget report in our pack. And I am assuming,
We do, and it's in part B.
I'm
Yep.
assuming that the finance committee thoroughly reviewed that. I guess I should ask in part B.
You should ask
I get
in part B, exactly, when you get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
great.
sure.
Okay, right, yeah. Okay, we'll move that the finance committee minutes be I'll move that they be received, and Rob, you can second that.
Sure.
Thank you. So then we'll go to the audit and risk committee minutes. Any questions on those? Right, Jonathan, I'm going to move that they be received. You can second that. Thank you. Okay, then we're on the capital expenditure committee. Are there any questions around the minutes? That's just the part A minutes, the capital expenditure committee. I'll move that those be received. And Barb, perhaps you would like to second those. Thank you. So we're now at the Equity Leadership Committee, and we have Kathy here. And you have the report there from the Equity Leadership Committee report, as Kathy said. Lots of good detail in there. Thank you very much, Kathy. I think we should take the report as read. Are there any questions for Kathy specifically around the report?
I had one question, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
Mind you.
Okay, just in terms of the gender pay gap, I know the paper mentions talking to some of the communities about maybe some of the, I appreciate there will be systemic issues. Beyond talking to those communities on their own reflections, what other work are you doing? Because I appreciate they're the ones, didn't decide to be paperless. So what's the approach to try think about how to approach that quite complex issue?
You're right, it is very complex. And so already the analyses we've done have given us some good insight into where to target our efforts.
Yes.
Because the gender pay gap numbers, as you know, are just really big forward indicators. And so it tells us that despite all the good work that we've been doing for many years, there are still going to be pockets in some parts of the organisation where improvements can be made. And so one of the things, for example, that we found is that HR has already undertaken a project to look at transparency around performance pay. So that the people who are making the decisions about that in their area of responsibility can see their own patterns of decision making to benchmark against that. We know from overseas research in particular that just making it visible, your own pattern of decision making really helps people understand if they might have some unconscious bias that's sort of skewing them one way or another. So that's some work HR are doing. And to be fair, most of the initiatives that tackle this will be led by HR, informed by this report. So we're fortunate in that there's some really good quality evidence bases around what types of initiatives are most likely to be effective once you correctly diagnose what the underlying issues are. And so there's no one big thing that you can just do and magically it all comes right. So a lot of the hard work that's been done this year and is planned for next year is to continue a really detailed understanding of where are the issues, at what points is it in the way we advertise, is it how we go through recruitment and appointment, is it career progression, is it more flexible work policies and more flexible leave, there's a range of things that we could consider and towards we've begun with some of those. At the same time, yes, we're engaging with direct communities to understand what their lived experience of all of this is, so that when we think we've identified a specific issue, we've got some good evidence-based intervention that we'd like to test here. We can collaborate with the key communities involved to see, well, does that look like a sensible approach from your point of view, and how would you like to work with us on that? So it's going to take a while. It takes 140 years to get here. But certainly we're, I think,
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you very much, Kathy. I'm going to move that report be received, and Gemma, ask you to second that. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're on to the report of Senate. I don't know whether, Vice Chancellor, whether there's any comment you want to make about the papers that are in our pack.
Just two comments before any questions and others can comment. We have committed to going back to the Senate meeting March with two pieces of work that we were going to do. One was in revisiting our work on the CFT to look at transdisciplinary courses, to think about that in a bit more detail, the regulations haven't gone through, but also to look at Waipapa Taumata and actually one or two other areas where we realise that we need to think about things like flexible learning choices, the enhanced learning options, and to have an extended Senate that day to really help people to get across and understand inside out some of those issues. That's because we've had a lot of people turn up to Senate that weren't actually at Senate when those papers went through, and to try and bring people up to speed on where we're at to get some debate going. The second thing was about free speech. That's actually going to probably be curtailed because free speech legislation, even though we've done all this work on policy, is going to go through cabinet before the end of the year. And so we're likely to have to think about what that means for us rather than developing a policy of our own. So if the challenge for that meeting, where we put that on the schedule again, I think will then be unraveling what the legislation looks like and trying to understand the implications in terms of our own work that we've been doing and how we apply it. And I don't know how much detail it's going to go into, but I do know that there is going to be an expectation that there's going to be transparency and regular monitoring on a yearly basis for legislation and how we're implementing it. So that's probably enough from me. So we've got an expanded meeting of Senate on the 3rd of March, and that report and the work of that will come to the council meeting. And then I don't know if there's anything, Bridget, or anybody want to add, or you have questions?
Are there any questions on the Senate papers that are in the pack? I think we should all note the names of the new faculties.
Yes.
We have the Faculty of Arts and Education, who are acknowledging they are the A&E faculty, and the Faculty of Engineering and Design. Okay. All right, now so I'll move I'm moving that the recommendations in Part A of the report of Senate be adopted and Parts B and C be noted. Kathy, I'll ask you to second those. Thank you very much. Okay, then we're down to the delegations to the PVC Global and Graduate Research. And so I think this is really sort of a name change, isn't it? We're going from the Dean of Graduate Studies to the Pro Vice Chancellor of Global and Graduate Research. In terms
Because
of,
Frank's restructured the portfolio, we now need to look at the delegation.
okay, and that those, so it's essentially a name change and a sub-delegation. Are there any questions about this item? No? Okay, I'm going to move that this be approved, and I'm going to ask Julia not Nanes to second that. Thank you very much. Okay, then we have no correspondence in Part A, but we have matters for where the seal has been affixed. We have a list of documents that the seal has been affixed to. I'm going to move that list be noted and ask Julia Tolmay to second that. Thank you very much. And now we'll move to the elections. We have elections chief representative on council. Welcome, Far. So I'm going to move that Mr. Fa'afuia be appointed as the student representative on council for a one-year term from the 1st of November to the 31st of October 2025. And it's a year because this is the second half of her last term. Okay. Move that and ask John to second that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And then we just have there for noting, you'll see the meeting and graduation dates for 2025. Is anybody looking for a leave of absence for the first meeting next year, which is the 17th of March? If you do decide, so Wendy is unwell at the moment. So if you do need to communicate, I would say, I'm not sure when she's coming back, Rawani. So maybe if somebody has, they should send a message. If they're emailing Wendy, they should copy you as well. I mean, yeah, that's the thing to do.
No, but noted as St. Patrick's Day.
It is. Right, yeah. So I'll have to make sure I keep to time.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we'll just have to make sure that there's a Guinness to drink afterwards or something. Okay, and now, right, okay, now I'm moving into Part B with the public exclusions. Yes, and I think I've already got, actually, I've got two resolutions here around the public exclusions and one having Matt stay twice, but I think I've got them. So yes, I'm moving that due to the role of the carer, consulting them and providing independent advice to the council, that Matt Stanley be permitted to retain in part B of the meeting. And then I'm moving the public be excluded from part B, other than Matt and the various members of staff that are saying because of their knowledge of the matters that are going to be discussed. I'm going to move that, and I'm going to ask Jonathan to second that. Thank you very much. All right, I think we can add everybody. I know you're out of here. Okay. I'll just. I did have somebody on the.